painting a beautiful landscape, or whether you're slamming some heavy metal on your headphones, picking up like a paint knife and just slashing like lines of paint on a canvas and calling it a Jackson Pollock, you're still creating art either way. And I think that's the difference between Blyze and Yala, right? It's just two ways of approaching the same thing.
But here though, Seiko's already leading the pack with the Incanter's Flow in his opening hand, so job one done. We'll see if Blyze can keep up, and he cannot, at least for opening mulligan.
Survey says
But the problem here for Seiko so far, though, he has the Incanter's Flow, but double combustion feels very empty in his hand right now. So one box ticked, he's just waiting for that second one, which is the card draw follow-up.
Well played.
It's still just, I just love the reactions to Incanters on 2. It's great. It's the best part of the mirrors.
It's literally why I get out of bed in the morning, just to see how players are going to react to Incanter's Flow.
Okay, well, the combustion's at least done something for now. Killed off an early minion here for Blyze. Seiko now has built himself a curve with Stuart.
A charming composition.
Not great.
Probably just Netherwind again, I would imagine. I would have said again card draw as priority before he picked up the Arcane Intellect off the draw step that turn, but he does now have that little bit of fuel to get rolling. Hard to imagine that he's going to be forced off the Netherwind portal next turn, because even with... Sorry, forced off the Apexis Blast, because even with the Netherwind on Blyze's side, he could be able to trade with it with the 4-4, but now life gets a little bit more difficult because the 4-4 was cleared.
It's tough, right, though, because he does have Intellect to proc it, and then potentially Combustion to kill it if you're feeling especially lucky.
Sure. Wait, how lucky are you feeling? Oh, you mean just kill the 4-drop, you mean?
Yeah, just to kill off the threat, right? Because the 2-3, I mean, kind of whatever, right?
I mean, chip damage adds up in the matchup.
It does, but Apexis Blast in itself, and when you're almost expecting it to be just straight traded off by the secret, can feel pretty bad. But who knows? There are some good 5-drops I heard, and that's one of them.
Now that...
Without a fight.
Was I supposed to finish that, or are you just doing a really long dramatic...
No, I was wondering, like, I was right on the line. I was wondering how long I could wait before delivering the punchline, but I waited a little bit too long, and now the moment.
Yeah, I thought I gave you a reasonable amount of time before I... I did help, right? I didn't say a word.
It was next level caster chicken, Raven. That's what was going down there.
So the Blyze getting ahead now. Okay. Not the best outcome here. Are we playing Apexis Blast Tennis? Or is Seiko going to go for something a little bit different?
Well, he's doing a great job, though, of just keeping tempo, which he absolutely needs to do. When you don't have flow, you can't just spend your whole turn just drawing cards and looking for things to do from your deck. You have to get minions in play, right? Font of Power, Apexis Blast, Primordial Studies, play your minions. That's generally what you have to do to be able to just bridge the gap, right? And this is what you're doing. You're stalling for time, looking for that opportunity to then pick up Incanter's Flow of your own and actually get back into the game. And I think Blyze has done it perfectly here.
Yeah, if you can't do the fancy things, you just have to brute force your way to it to an extent, right? So he is facing down this 5-5 from Seiko, but he has his own Incanter's Flow live now. Has double cram session, so would love some kind of spell damage generation here. But he does have the emergency buttons of either Flame Strike or Mask, depending on what the board looks like next turn.
Psycho was that the AI water here? That is a water, yeah.
Stay hydrated, Psycho.
Bring him back up to 6. Gives him the opportunity to just clean Flame Strike or clean Mask again if he wants to here. Never mind, brings him back up to 7. Now he could just pick this board apart. He can go Rune Door, Brain Freeze, Mask, 15 to face now, right?
Yes, but he doesn't.
Is that another play? He hasn't coined this turn, right? Like, there's not like a phantom mana that he doesn't get back or anything.
No.
Let's go all the way back up to 7. Okay.
Gonna hold off. Just take that clear instead. Keep hold of the spring water.
This is not like... of course. Genuinely had not seen it come off it before today, and now I've seen it twice.
It's the only one that comes off it. What are you on about?
Yeah, it's the only minion. That's what the secret does. It just summons a 3/5 lifesteal. But yeah, this isn't just, you know, all downside. Like, I'm not just saying that my play is better, because this way Seiko front loads another minion, right? Like, he gets a minion in play and keeps burning his hand, which is theoretically extra damage over time if those minions get to attack.
Here we saw as well, Blyze take all this card draw and a non-corrupted ring toss just to try and progress his hand, right? Like you said, he needs to dig deeper. Whereas obviously he has Flame Strike, now he has Mask of Cthulhu to potentially clean up the rest of this board. Well, that's not something you want to mask into, is it?
Not really, no. I've seen better ideas. Yeah, hang on. Why aren't we all just playing Patron Warrior? This is genius.
I did see this card get played in like literal day one Rush Warrior decks.
Yeah. I do like that they've used the word gruntled, though. Big fan of those words. Yeah, it's like, is like gusted a word? If you can be disgusted, can you be gusted? If you can be disgruntled, can you be gruntled? That stuff interesting. Because I'm a nerd.
Chevoled.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, now you're playing the game.
Whelmed.
Yeah, no, exactly. Whelmed is the classic.
Wow, Flame Strike the one minion. That is a lot of mana to pay. Kill off the one minion there.
Oh, it says explode!
Blyze just locked in the next 3 turns before we've even saw anything. This is tricky though, because although Blyze is holding on, Seiko obviously had to Flame Strike away that one minion. Seiko just has double mask, fireball, even Reckless Apprentice can get something done, but really it's just so much damage. All Seiko needs really is just, what, 2 turns to end this game in his favor?
I like this as well. I think, Flame Strike was obvious there, but Blyze finds the line, which actually develops some tempo on the other side. So not only is he soaking up damage from Mask of Cthulhu this way, but he's also occupying Seiko's turn. So if it's not Mask, say if instead Seiko just wanted to go like, Fireball face, Apexis Blast face, Runed Orb face, whatever it ends up being, just to set up lethal for the following turn. He can't really do that anymore because he has minions to worry about. So I think this is a good spot from Blyze. He's still miles behind, like, make no bones about it, but I think he's made the best play he can in that spot.
And what realistically has to happen for Blyze now? Is it just a water he needs to draw into everything possible?
Absolutely, yeah. I think Refreshing Spring Water is the card. Devolving Missiles is perhaps the worst card that he can pick up. Now, he has outs. It's going to need to be card draw on the following turn, but the outs exist. Blyze's remaining deck, you can see that he is going to need multiples of these cards to come out because he's not going to have this spell damage on the following turn. It's going to need to be like card draw into Runed Orb plus Fireball or something similar to that to be able to end this game from this position. But he has outs, and a couple of turns ago it looked like he had none, so I think he's navigated it very, very well to get to this spot.
And I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Seiko will be playing with a Mask of Cthulhu in mind, right? So he's not going to either leave an empty board on his side, so Masters 10, he's got this counter spell if he wants it to just block a single mask play. He has to be just a little bit careful, because right now there is Devolving Missiles plus Mask.
But look at what the fear equity's earning Blyze here as well. The fact that Seiko's having to pay so much attention to getting minions in play means that he didn't cast Mask that turn. So now Seiko does not even have lethal in his hand currently.
Yeah, like, why isn't Blyze dead? My only question.
No. Raven, no. There's no way. Seiko needs an out. Remaining cards now for Seiko instead as he needs to go digging. He has only one fireball remaining that represents immediate lethal, and he needs it.
And that wasn't it.
Mage, no way to kill it. Evo? Can he get an out with Evo? If he goes like Blood Mage Evocation? But there's still only enough mana to play one Burn Smell.
One burn smell?
I'm aware that I said one burn smell. Raven, I smell toast.
It says explode.
I need to run quick. Oh, I don't know why that's so funny, but it is. Well, now, what does Seiko even... What's even go for? I mean, it's easy for us. We can see the one card that Blyze has is Fireball, but he won't have the mana to play Ring Toss for a counterspell. And that, who needs one Fireball when you've got two? That's going to be game. And Blyze, I don't know how it happened, but he pulled it out of the bag. 1-0 to Blyze.
And again, like, this is Blyze, right? So the moments go past in a heartbeat, and I think this is the problem with the way he plays, is you don't get enough time to dissect the cool things he's doing. But it was actually a turn which he did stop and consider for quite some time, the turn where he ended up on the Combustion clear as opposed to the Flame Strike clear. And the Flame Strike just looked so obvious and so clean. But instead, by using an Apexis Blast which didn't go face, plus a Combustion, where conventional wisdom would say to you, well, just use the Flame Strike because that isn't face damage, and then you still have the face damage in your hand. And that's good, right? But instead, Blyze found the line which occupied Seiko's turn by saying, I'm not going to take Mask of Cthulhu damage to my face, and you have to spend your turn dealing with my minions. He then did the same thing the next turn by setting up Mask Lethal, which was a bluff. He didn't have Mask Lethal in his hand, but Seiko respected it and then spent his own turn playing minions to play around a lethal out that wasn't there, instead of setting up his own lethal, which then gave Blyze the one extra turn where all he needed to do was ping. That's all he needed to do on that turn to set up his own lethal. It was a fantastic game of Hearthstone from Blyze.
It really was, just really well played. And honestly, after that, Seiko's got to be, I'm not even like saying kicking himself because of any one particular mistake, but got to be feeling disappointed with like, well, how did I lose that game? My opponent had like no cards all game. I had the flow as and when, I had card draw, and somehow it went wrong. So that's going to be a frustrating game here for Seiko. So I imagine he's going to be just, getting himself back in line with where he wants to be. Both players, as we go into game number 2, are going to be on their primary decks as expected. Nothing changed. It's just the same again here.
Hey, keep it fun of power. I talked about this a little bit earlier, right? What were you asking about? Like keeping refreshing spring water?
It was water, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, if anything, like I'm a bigger fan of just keeping something to spend your first mana on, because that's sometimes difficult to do in the game. And yeah, Blyze holding on to Font of Power in that situation, which, based on the kind of the way he plays and the way he's been throwing up the prayer hands and reacting to the Incanter's Flow, like I wouldn't have been surprised to see him be an all-in for Incanter's Flow gamer. But I also think in the dynamic in this particular matchup, I talked about this as well before, right? If your opponent's going to like keep Deck of Lunacy, then you can go Font of Power on one, play a minion, play a minion, play a minion, and you've already dealt like 15 damage by the time they get to play Deck of Lunacy.
And without pigeonholing people into certain playstyles, I think Blyze just likes doing stuff and getting stuff on board.
That's true.
No, we saw it, last season in the Priest matchups, right? Blyze was just like, I'm going to play a minion, I'm going to play another minion, I'm going to play another minion, when people thought Priest was all about, just super late game and you just need to generate loads of stuff. Blyze was trying to kill people with it, and it's the same again. Now he has some initiative on, he's playing the minions, Seiko has to choose whether he wants to respond to them, kill them off, or ignore them, and all the while Blyze is still working towards drawing cards, he's still trying to do the mage things, but just gets a little bit more ahead with this play. And Seiko making the choice right now, coin Lunacy. Here we go.
Here we go indeed. Yep, studies, minions, pick them, play them, draw cards, Blood Mage, boom, hit face.
I just want to point out there, Blyze turned down an Apexis Blast unless my eyes deceived me.
He's got a Solarian in his deck already, so
it's
just 5 mana, 5 damage. Yeah.
But I also like it just because he has a turn 5 play anyway, right?
Well, that was a fun game of Hearthstone. I think genuinely, Cycle of Hatred is the most disgusting first card to draw off Deck of Lunacy, right?
Well, it solves the problem you're going to have the most, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be behind to a bunch of small minions, and they're going to be small minions because they've been played on turns 1, 2, and 3, and then you just draw the thing that literally reverses the board state, just flips it on its head. Like, it's so gross.
Death from the shadows!
And Blyze does get to at least not instantly lose the game to these minions, because sometimes Mage doesn't have an answer to a wide 3-3 board, and then you just get beaten up. But so far, this is, although it's done a great job for Seiko, it's only going to deal 3. Force of Nature, okay.
Nice. Good diversity. Minions being generated, buffs, and board clears. You kind of want to draw a good sprinkling of all of them. Very nice. Let's set up with the Raz, though, the mini-mage in the previous turn.
Oh. Well, that's a lot of damage.
Is that piercing? I always get that.
Yeah, it's piercing shot. So 5 damage to face if he aims it at that mini-mage, or he could just say, you know what, 1 mana, kill the Raz.
Yeah, I don't think he cares too much about face damage himself, right? He hasn't got any of his burn in his deck, so... sorry, he has, well, yeah, both. He hasn't got any of his burn in his hand, so it's all in his deck and has been transformed into random stuff. So opportunities for straight-up face damage is pretty unrealistic, I would say.
Oh, yeah, but now it's 6 damage to face with that spell damage. That is a lot. 1 mana deal 6.
What if we could find a way to generate a Moarg and then cry because it doesn't work?
Oh, don't so.
I had to break
Annoys
that
me.
news to you. You were so upset.
Yeah, I thought, oh, Hunter could have a cool archetype. But, oh, no, never mind.
And then I got to crush your dreams by telling you it didn't work. Yeah. Evolving's huge. Now it's a card draw and a huge minion.
Potentially.
Most of the
yep.
time. Yep, okay.
Wait a minute.
Probably just have to...
Okay, yeah, I was gonna never leave the gibbling up. Ooh, not really what Seiko was after. It's not a bad card to draw, but really wanted some kind of board for development, I think, this turn.
That was a natural secret that cost 3 from the deck, right? That Seiko just played if Blyze was paying attention. So he can just play Mask here if he wants to. Feel relatively okay about it. It will, of course, summon the 4-drop at the end of the turn if he wants to avoid that, but it seems like a reasonable thing to do. Looks like he's going to go Combustion Clear instead.
I like it. There's a 1/1, right? And it spawns on the other side, so... And arguably, Seiko could have played that the other way, right?
Correct. Yeah, I have called exactly that a mistake before, and I will do it again. I think it's something that you do have to plan around when you're playing Netherwind Portal with stealth minions. It comes up surprisingly often.
Cute little interaction here. Wait, should he have played a different spell first, or could he have? I guess not.
The beast in my sights. The end.
Shame for Seiko, he couldn't have sort of engineered that spell burst effect to go much more in his favor.
Right.
Get anything
Expendable
there, but
performers. Expendable into survival for the 1-2 punch is possible. Blyze will probably have to respect that with a Flame Strike or a Mask if he doesn't find a cleaner way of doing it, because obviously he knows that there is a 50-50 that each of the 7 cost cards are Survival of the Fittest in Seiko's hand, so the threat is enormous.
also interesting there, right? He could have actually just traded the 3-2 and just had more minions on board.
Alright, just going to bet it on the Prime.
Here we go.
He needs to do something to this board state. It's dead. right? As long as this isn't Counterspell, and he knows it isn't because he saw the second Oasis ally get played. Yeah, but he wouldn't even have to, right? He would know for a fact that it isn't based on the 2 Oasis allies getting played. But
wow, just like that.
It's just going to do it.
Wow, and Blyze just wanting bigger things to happen than spending his whole turn cleaning up a board of 1/1s, which I do understand. And I think that was a quite bad prime, right? Like, it didn't really achieve anything. Double Potion of Illusion and double Oasis as well. So just did not achieve anything at all. So unlucky there for Blyze, just chose to go for the much bigger impact play, and it didn't pay off. And that means we are going to go to a game 3. Something that's been a bit of a rarity this week for us so far, Sottle.
It has been, yeah. Worth saying as well that, like, that was an absolutely filthy prime if you were ahead, right? It just happened to be a disgusting one because he was behind. Like,
or on 10 mana.
Yeah. Double Potion of Illusion, like, forget about it. Like, that's the nuts. You don't care if anything else happens at that point, as long as you're not just immediately dead. But unfortunately for Blyze, he was just immediately dead. But yeah, I respect it, right? Like, the alternative was to Flame Strike a bunch of 1/1s, and that doesn't feel like winning, right? Because you got to imagine, we're staring at survival of the fittest, but let's say you even said to Blyze, your opponent has one of their 7 mana cards in their hand, right? If you Flame Strike there, what if it's Nagrand Slam? Then you don't have an answer to Nagrand Slam anymore, right? So even if you tell them there's one of the cards in hand, it's a straight up 50-50 as to whether or not it's good to clear that board. So I think, you know, just generically saying I'm going to play the most powerful card in my hand and hope good things happen was a reasonable way to approach that turn.
Well, let's dive back in. Last game of this series. Last game of the day over here in the European Grandmasters. This is for a spot in the top 4 for one of these players. Seiko has the Incantus Flow, has the Refreshing Spring Water, and even has a nice turn 1 play considering he isn't uncoined. So everything looking very good for Seiko so far. Blyze, not quite as much, but he does have a Spring Water at least to get some card draw going in the early game.
That exact decision is the number one thing that I still like torment myself over playing this deck, because it comes up quite a lot, right? Like, you keep Incantus Flow, you keep Spring Water if you always have the Incantus Flow, right? But whether or not it's better to just take a straight up card draw when your deck is so powerful with Incantus Flow over Imprisoned Phoenix with the potential of Cram Session going off, because you do still need to kind of hit exactly Cram... Okay, never mind. You do need to hit exactly Cram Session for that Imprisoned Phoenix to end up being better, right, over the Blood Mage Thanos a lot of the time. So I think it's quite close, but I do tend to lean towards the Imprisoned Phoenix, and it seems most other players do as well.
I think it's because it has a lot more general upside, right? Because, for example, if your opponent's played Font of Power, well, Imprisoned Phoenix in a turn or so's time is going to improve your brain freezes and everything like that, so...
Good night, folks. Enjoy Americas. It's been a great show, everybody. My name's Soto. This has been Raven. I hope you guys have enjoyed European Grandmasters. But, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
You say this has been Raven?
Yep. That was a direct threat. You identified it.
Well, I thought you just called me a has-been. It just depends with your grabber, doesn't it?
Yeah, good point. No, I mean you are soon to be an ex-Raven.
Okay.
Always hungry for more.
Blyze already decided what his turn's going to be. Go wide. Yep. And these mana worms aren't to be ignored. They are something that Seiko's going to have to actually deal with.
Yeah. And jokes aside, like, to his credit, Blyze won a game incredibly skillfully from a very disadvantageous position in game number 1. It was not as disadvantageous as his position currently is, but he was unfavored from the position he started off in and found a way to navigate his way out of it.
Oh.
He is disgustingly far behind right now.
My. Okay, he's going to go for Mask anyway, but that combustion was so sick as well, right?
Yeah.
And he could just bat away the board without even worrying about the Mask.
Yeah, still no flow. Barely even a way to clear up the Phoenix and actually feel reasonably okay with it. Like, Broondog, Bastion, sure, but he's not really achieving anything. Seiko has another Phoenix into another Cram Session that he can just drop down here. Pexis Blast face, drop 1 Thief, look for something else to follow up with.
I got a good feeling.
Oh, big boy as well with that Ogre. And I always hit the correct target, but if there's only one target, then it helps.
taking AI here, I think. Yeah, Seiko agrees. Devolving Missiles doesn't really matter here, I would imagine, when you have double combustion, especially when one of them costs 1. And that cram session is a lot of card draw, but it's slow card draw, right? Because you need to play the Phoenix and have it wake up for it to actually be efficient. So I think, yeah, Arcane Intellect, just jam it next turn a lot of the time. Just look for ways to end the game as quickly as possible.
Well, that's what Blyze was after. The Apexis Blast activates his ring toss. Maybe he can get something done, but I do think he just needed exactly Apexis Blast this turn, and he just has to play it and hope whatever he gets is enough.
Yep.
Probably do it into the Ogre? He Apexis Blast his own face?
He sure did. He saw the lines, Raven. That's why he shouldn't play slowly. You see all these turns he plays incredibly quickly and they're just nutty. He stopped to think that turn and ended up Apexis blasting himself in the face.
I just don't even know what to say. Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the correct response, let's be honest. What would you like for him to have done at this point?
Seiko, like, okay. What's his plan? Don't fall for the trap, Seiko. Don't fall for the trap. That is going to be the game. That is going to be the series.
He did bait me into thinking he had Mask of Cthulhu 2 games ago.
There's just a butterfly comes past. It's like, is this a bait? Seiko takes the victory over Blyze 2-1. Very, very tricky series for both players there in that one. Blyze taking an incredible win earlier on, but it not being enough for the whole series. And Seiko's going to be our last player to join the top 4 for tomorrow. And honestly, for Seiko, we talk a lot about Blyze, but a fantastic win for Seiko because he had a very unimpressive opening for Grandmasters, I would say, in the first few weeks. And this time he's at worst back to top 4 finish this week, which is much needed at this point in the season.
Yeah, he's a great player, and we have not spoken about him much this season because he hasn't really done much this season in terms of visibility, right? Which makes it kind of hard to talk about him. But it was only a matter of a couple of years ago that Seiko was Gabby, right? He was